the main event, the co-main event. It is a great card as Pat Sabatini at the top of the card, Cesar Balmaceda, Atlantic City's own, at the top of the card. Tomorrow night on UFC Fight Pass, you will hear my melodic tones along with my partner, this man, CM Punk, who joins me now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline to take a look and preview tomorrow night's big card at the Hard Rock, CFFC 74. CM Punk, what's going on, man? Are you in town yet?
Of course, I'm in town. I'm currently at the Hard Rock, holding it down, doing my best to get all our notes in line, so me and you can rock the microphone, so to speak.
Yeah, man. I've been doing a lot of studying. I don't know about I called out Arias the other day. They gave me like Kem Chekabov or some name against Semmelsberger. I said, come on, man, you had to put them both in the same fight against each other.
Yeah, I commented when they announced that on Instagram and posted that fight. I commented below. I said, it's enough with the last names already.
Of all the cards that we've done together, I've said this one has some of the most difficult names. Like this one's got the tough ones. But speaking of Kam Chebekov, I think if I say it really fast, Zolk, that was a fight where he's a guy, we talk about a lot of fights that we're looking forward to, and there's a couple guys on this card that you and I have seen, but he's a guy that I've read and seen. I've been watching a lot of his fights leading up to this. That dude there, I'm excited for that tomorrow night, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think he's a beast. And he's one of two welterweight fights, so he's going to be one of the bigger guys on the card. And you know me, I always like the bigger guys, and I like a good heavyweight fight, but we don't got any heavyweights. We got welterweights. Yeah,
and I had Eddie Torres on the other day. He's on the undercard. He was an interesting guy because he works with Jonathan Webb. He works with Sean Brady. He says he is a big fan of Paul Felder, guys that you're work with and fans of. It's so cool, and this is one of the reasons I know that you like doing what you're doing is because you get to see all these guys. And I said to him, and this is something that I'd like to comment from you on, is a guy like Eddie Torres who's making his debut. You could be in this sport and work out with guys that you looked up to and watch, and they're in your camp working with. Like, there's not a lot of sports where you can work with guys that you kind of grew up idolizing.
Very true. Yeah, very true. I mean, if you're in the NFL combine, you're not necessarily training with guys, possibly in the off season. I know a lot of NHL guys who skate with guys from other teams and so on and so forth. But when it comes to, game day action, yeah, and I spoke with Eddie today, and he's a guy who very much trains with Paul Felder when Paul's at home in Philly. He's also main training partner of Pat Sabatini. So, he's making his pro debut. I expect him to look like he's already been there.
Now, CM Punk's our guest. We'll have the call tomorrow night on UFC Fight Pass. First bell, 7 o'clock. Main card, 9 o'clock on UFC Fight Pass. Get the app. Watch us pontificate about the fights. He does a really good job telling you what's going on. I'm just the other guy there. Troy Sterling, you talk a lot when we're doing these fights about his brother Aljamain, and he's going to be on the card. His younger brother Joey Tizano is a guy that both you and I have seen, so I'm sure that you want to see Troy and are very interested in that one.
Yeah, I am. I talked to Tizano today. A fascinating aspect of this fight, I believe, is one of the cornermen for Tizano was Troy Sterling's last opponent, and he lost to him. So I think this one's going to be a chess match. It's going to be a very interesting fight to keep your eye on.
Now, you remember the last fight we had at Hard Rock back in February on the weekend of Valentine's Day. Joey Pirati was Mama's boy. He had a great story, but his mother was right behind us. I mean, she was like sitting on our lap for that fight. He's on this card at 11-1.
Yeah, she was screaming in my ear, not directly, indirectly, but I love it. I love the nickname. I love that he actually just loves his mom and he's unashamed about it. And I love her. I love Joey's mom. Not in that kind of way, She's just great. It's fun to see people supporting their loved ones,
That was a high energy fight. He's a welterweight, one of the bigger guys, 170 that we'll see. And then we get into the top of this card, and you mentioned Pat Sabatini, who, we talked about this with Eddie Torres the other day because he says he works with Pat and he works with Sean Brady. Sean Brady's got the call. Pat Sabatini, I guess, is one of the two guys in this card, maybe three, that are hoping to get that call with this one against Fabricio Oliveira.
Yeah, Pat's a fascinating guy to me. I really like talking to him. He's not in a hurry. I think he knows his path, and to him, whatever fight, whatever opportunity presents itself, whatever's next, that's what he looks forward to. I'm sure he has dreams and aspirations of being in the UFC, but I also think he knows that time will come. So he's almost kind of smelling the roses, so to speak. He enjoys what he's doing now, and he's really kind of a fighter who just focuses on himself, tries to get 1% better every single day, and it doesn't matter who he's against in the cage. He works on himself, and he will implement his game plan. And he's really a lot like Sean Brady in a sense that he is one of the most well-rounded guys I've ever seen on the regional circuit.
Now, before we get to Cesar Balmaceda, Sydney Outlaw, that fight, what do you think of Sean Brady? And we saw him in the last card, and then he got the call. So, now that we're about 2 months past that last fight, how impressed were you? Because this is, as you mentioned in a lot of these promotional videos leading up, that the stars of tomorrow, they're fighting tomorrow night. But he was one that we had Rob Haydek on the show the last card, and he thought that Brady was the best that the organization has ever put out, that he was the best guy that CFFC has produced. And you've seen a lot of guys from CFFC go to UFC. He thinks Sean Brady's the best of them all.
Yeah, another interesting guy. I was actually just in the gym with him, and to see him fully hydrated, fueled up, like he didn't cut weight or anything like that. He's like he's like as wide as he is tall. So he's very interesting. He fights at welterweight, and you look at him and you think, oh, this is a guy he's a lightweight. He's built like a tank. I think his legs are bigger than my waist, which is, saying something. But yeah, he's so well-rounded, and he's so smart. Just like Pat Sabatini, their fight IQ is like off the charts. If you were to make a character playing a video game, you know what I mean? These are the guys that you would wind up making. They're so good at every single aspect of the game. Grappling, striking. You want to do Muay Thai, cool. You want to box, that's fine. They'll both stay in the pocket with you. And I think a big underrated part of both guys' games is their boxing, is their stand-up. People look at Sean like, oh, he's a wrestler. People look at Pat Sabatini, oh, he's just a black belt. And they'll surprise you on their feet.
All right, and then, of course, Cesar Balmaceda from Atlantic City, who was at the top of the card. There was some stuff going on today with both him and Sydney Outlaw. They will still fight each other, but the belt will not be on the line now. There's a lot that we'll talk about, I guess, tomorrow night in the broadcast. But still, these two guys, still putting them at the co-main event, and it should be one of the more entertaining fights for both of these guys. Balmaceda, who we've seen back in December. Sydney Outlaw has a very interesting road to get here as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. So basically what happened was both guys came in a little bit over the championship weight, so we cannot have a championship fight. I believe Balmaceda will get stripped of the title, but the fight is still on. Drops from 5 rounds to 3, so we still get to see these guys touch gloves, which to me is exciting. They get bumped out of the main event spot and replaced with Pat Sabatini and Fabricio Oliveira. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why the business model of having 2 title fights on any given MMA card is put in place. You know what I mean? We want to give people action-packed 5-round title fight for the main event, and this is that's why that's put in place, just in case something like this does happen. I think Sydney Outlaw is an extremely, extremely tough out for anybody, and Cesar Balmaceda, he has that O in his record, 6-0, so it's going to be interesting to see if he can defend that, and it'll be interesting to see how the weight cut that he didn't get to complete affects Sydney Outlaw.
Yeah, and I know Cesar is in a situation where you mentioned the O. We had him on the show. He's very focused. He wants that call. He wants to make the jump. Does that affect, does he still, if he has a good outing tomorrow night, does he still get that consideration, or does this affect that?
Well, I think at this level, I think winning, because people will look at the wins and losses. Especially higher ups in the UFC. But oftentimes wins and losses don't tell most of the story. You know what I mean? There's people who have made weight and then they fight somebody who hasn't made weight. Does that give that person an advantage? There's always kind of behind the scenes storylines of what's going on. But in this case, both guys haven't made weight. So, it's an even playing field. If he wins, is he still in consideration? Yes, I absolutely think so. This is the first time in Caesar's career he hasn't made weight. So I don't think it's an issue. And also remember, this is a guy who has a full-time job and a kid at home, and responsibilities. So people are quick to say, oh, it's super unprofessional to not make weight. And I agree in most cases. I think for Caesar, this is the first time. So as long as it's not like he's a repeat offender kind of thing, we can cross that bridge if it ever comes to it. But it could be a very big lesson for him.
Now tonight at 8:00, it's the official weigh-ins at the and that will be hosted by CM Punk on out there, and see him out there tonight at 8:00 for the official weigh-ins. It's right outside the Edis Arena is where they host all those weigh-ins, and then tomorrow night it is CFFC 74 live. And if you can't get out there, you can hear CM Punk and myself on UFC Fight Pass with the call. Now, this will be our third fight together, and I'm just, intrigued to see, what, as we've done this and seen these fights, how unique it is to kind of watch these guys build their way up. And then, I certainly have taken so much more notice of these guys' careers and what, guys are going on after and what's going on and guys who have been here before. Some of the things that you have that have jumped out doing the stuff here with CFFC, because you obviously are still training. You have fought in the UFC. So I'm sure you're looking at it with a much different scope than I am.
Yeah, I mean, what I enjoy about doing this is seeing fighters for the first time, people making their pro debuts. And then now, obviously, as you just said, this is our third call together. So we get to see people that we saw fight in December. We get to see people we saw fight in February. So it's fun to watch people grow and change, to find out if anybody got promoted in, belt rank in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, to see what's going on in other people's lives and stuff like that. And, I really do mean it. It sounds like corny promotional stuff, but I legit get to sit there and watch and talk to and build up these fighters that will be in the UFC eventually, and it's just fun. I feel like I'm 15 and I'm going to see a punk rock band at a bowling alley, and then they become the next big thing and they're selling out arenas. And, I get to say, man, I saw those guys way back when they were, playing a bowling, and it's so fun and it's very rewarding, honestly.
I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and I know the card tomorrow night is going to be outstanding. There's so many great names, guys that we've seen, new guys that are just making their debuts. That's what makes it so cool, because we've seen guys who have no record or coming in and have the knockout of the night. We saw some tremendous action in the last card, and I anticipate that tonight. And then, of course, there's some more coming up down the road that, the CFFC is certainly putting together a lot of stuff here that will keep us busy and keep us working. Tomorrow night at Hard Rock, Atlantic City, it is CFFC 74. By the way, you got Boston. You're a big hockey guy, as many people who follow you on Twitter will know. You got Boston up 3-0 over Carolina. That one's over, right?
I hope not.
Right, you're a Chicago guy.
But my brain says yes. I think Boston. I think momentum in hockey playoffs is such a big thing, and Boston has all of the momentum.
So then you got what happened? What happened in that game last night? It was 5-4. San Jose leads.
Good goal. Good goal.
I'm going to say,
come at me, everybody. Good goal. It bounced off the Blues player. Good goal. Stop crying and blaming the referees. You got to get your stuff together and focus, because if you're going to keep blaming the referees, you're just going to lose more games.
Yeah, controversial call. Berube said, "I have nothing to say after that no call."
Well, that's the best thing probably to say. Honestly, I was watching it live and I was like, "Oh, that's clearly a hand pass." But I've seen other angles of it where it does touch a Blues player. So, if we're going by the rule book, ladies and gentlemen, there was a play earlier in a different series. It was Boston and Columbus, where the puck hit the netting and then dropped back down on the ice. Nobody saw it. Nobody called it. A Boston player touched it. It got stolen, and Columbus buried it into the net. And it was a good goal because nobody blew a whistle, and then Boston played it. it touched a Boston player. It means it's a live puck. So last night the puck touched a Blues player. It's a live puck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've seen people complain about the referees and blaming that's why your team lost is like, to me, if you're in that Blues room, you got to use that as motivation and just go, you know what, we got to be better. It shouldn't have gone to overtime. We just got to bury more pucks into the net. That's it.
The hockey playoffs have been great. There's been so much action, especially in the Western Conference. Boston leads 3-0 on the East. By the way, are you caught up on forensic files so that you won't stay up too late tonight?
I haven't watched a single episode, but the night is young. I'm sure I'll get my fix in.
All right, CM Punk tonight, 8 o'clock, the weigh-ins at Hard Rock Atlantic City. And then tomorrow night, come see us live. We will have the call on UFC Fight Pass, but come out. So you don't want to hear us do the broadcast. You want to come see us live at Hard Rock Atlantic City. And if you can't make it, UFC Fight Pass is where you can find us. And he joined me here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. I will see you tomorrow, nice and early.
Looking forward to it, buddy. Can't wait.
All right, CM Punk, everybody, here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline.